Yeah, hi, so good evening.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, good evening.
Yeah, good evening, Sid. How are you?
Fine, sir. What about you?
Yeah, I'm also good. Can you please turn on your video?
Yes. I am visible and audible.
Yeah. So can you please look at the camera first so I can take a snap?
Please pardon.
Can you please look at the camera so I can take a snap?
Okay.
Okay, Ritu, right?
Yes.
Ritu, can you please brief yourself about your technical knowledge, about your current roles and responsibility, your different tasks?
So in my last company, actually, I am not working anywhere as of now. So my last working day was 4th of Feb in Amdoc. So I was working there on the payroll of Survix Software Private Limited. So there I was working in a project which was a cloud migration project, which belonged to AT&T. There were 7,000 applications in which the 4,000 applications were supposed to be migrated into Azure cloud. So the contract was distributed amongst 5 companies. So one was Amdocs, one was Accenture, one was IBM, and one was Microsoft, and 2 others. So my task as a platform engineer was there to do the IDO onboarding of the particular applications, and after that, the it was basically an automation process. So after that, 2 environments were used to create DevOps prod and DevOps non-prod. And after that, using Terraform, my task was to create the resources for the production environment as per the target architecture, which was given by the application team after the meetings. And for POC prod and non-prod environment, my task was to create the resources as per for the application deployment. So in total, I was part of migration of 5 to 6 applications. And other than that, I was working in a BSSC project in which the developers used to push their code in a Nexus repository. And then we had a meeting with the QE teams and the environment teams, and they used to ask us to change the code in the bid bucket, and that was pulled from the Nexus to the bid bucket. And using Jenkins, we used to do the manual deployments, trigger manual deployments, and then in the Scrum meetings we used to report to them that what is the status. Before that, I was working with the KMG IT services, so I was deployed to the various of their clients. So my task was to go there and understand their requirements and deploy the resources for the production environment and be the part of the cloud teams. And before that, I was in core networks and desktop support back in Sysnet and HCL.
So on what services of AWS Cloud you have hands-on?
Yes, AWS Cloud and Azure Cloud. So more preference is on AWS.
So on what services of AWS Cloud you have hands-on?
Please pardon?
On which services you have hands-on on the AWS Cloud?
So in AWS Cloud, all the general services which I have mentioned in my CV. So but the main being like creation of the EC2 instances and load balancer and auto scaling, and all those I have mentioned in my CV. So all those services I have exposure to, one way or the other.
Okay. So what is the difference between application load balancer and meta load balancer in some security?
In terms of security, so first security we have a gateway load balancer, and if I talk about the network load balancer, so the differences are based on the protocols. Like network load balancer uses TLS, TCP and UDP.
Yeah, both are secure protocols.
Okay, and in application load balancer, the layer 7 traffic which belongs to HTTP and HTTPS is load balance.
Yeah, but they are both protocol secure, right? So what's the difference between in terms of security? Which is better in terms of security?
So I think network is better than the application load balancer.
How?
Uh, because it also includes application load balancer in between. So the targets are instance IP and application load balancer, and also the it provides more more bandwidth and less latency. So in terms of security also, it should be more secure than application load balancer.
Okay, so in application load balancer, in how many ways? Suppose we want to move a traffic from our ALB to multiple the destination. So how many destinations are available in ALB to move a traffic?
To the internet facing or to the internal where our servers are located?
For the both, I think both optional on the both load balancer. So what are the destinations available for an ALB to move traffic?
So destination on the internal side, those are EC2 servers, and if I talk about the internet, so the people are who are requesting those services are destinations, and other than that, the algorithm which is used is round robin, and there are several others, and it uses listener and DNS resolutions for load balancing.
Is there any other option available other than EC2 instance? We can move traffic from ALB to some other destination other than EC2 instance. Can you move traffic from any other service?
Okay, I have used basically for the EC2 instances, and other than that, I have not used any other resource actually.
Okay. What is the health check path in the target group?
Please pardon.
What is the health check path? Health check path in
Health-
the target group.
Health check.
Path.
There are health checks, but health check paths I have not heard.
Okay. And what is the difference between internal and internet facing load balancer?
So internal load balancers are used to load balance the traffic internally, and external load balancer are public facing. So the traffic which is coming from outside infrastructure or whatever. So those are known as external load balancers.
Okay. And how we can store the application load balancer logs?
One way is to use the CloudWatch.
The LB logs.
Actually, I have not stored the logs actually, but we can use any logging monitoring tool.
So what are the matrices are available to monitor for load balancer in CloudWatch? Suppose I have a load balancer where two instances are there behind the target group, and one of our instance got unhealthy, okay, and I am getting 100 requests in a minute. So what will happen to them? If one instance is healthy, so what will happen to these requests which are getting on the unhealthy instance? How load balancer will handle that situation?
So the status checks, the instance which is healthy or not healthy is shown in the dashboard only. So if any instance is going unhealthy, so we can either take out to that the EC2 instances out of the target group. And
No, I'm asking if we have two instances and one got unhealthy, only one instance is healthy there, but there was 100 requests are coming in a minute.
One
requests are
minute.
going.
Please pardon.
We have a load balancer where two instances are there, and there are 100 requests are coming in a minute. So 50-50 was divided for by both instances, and one instance got unhealthy. So like, what the next step will load balancer take? The 50 request will be failed or what? Like what the next step will take on the load balancer?
So first of all, it will show the unhealthy instance, and if we have attached the EC2 instances to any service, so we can get the alerts from there, and then we will have to remove that EC2 instance and troubleshoot it. And
what if we not remove the instance, it is still attached to the load balancer? So will it able to serve the request, or what? Like load balancer will take action?
No, it will not be able to serve the request at the first place.
Okay. What is the export and on-demand instance?
So on-demand instances are the instances which can be requested at a particular any instant as per our requirement, and spot instances are the auction-based instances. So those are very cheap. So we have to do the spot request to get those instances. So and if the pricing comes, there is a fluctuation in pricing, so that may get terminated by themselves also. So those are required to be used only for the testing purpose to save our
What is the vertical scaling?
So vertical scaling is something if the capacity is increasing in a configuration basis. So let us suppose we have a EC2 instance with the CPU 2 cores and 4 GB of RAM. So as per our requirement, we increase the CPU from 2 to 4 cores of CPU and 4 GB RAM to 8 GB RAM EC2 instance. So that is known as a vertical scaling.
How we can achieve the vertical scaling with zero downtime?
We can create either a separate server for that and move all the services to there, and then increase the capacity of the server, or else we can create the disaster recovery exact replica of our infrastructure if the costing is not an issue. So and meanwhile we can work on our vertical scaling and then transfer the load back to the particular EC2 instance. So I have performed that thing manually, not on the automation, like in an automated way.
What is the difference between EBS and EFS?
So EBS is the elastic block storage. So the volumes which are attached to the EC2 instances are known as EBS, and EFS is the elastic file system. So if I talk about the EFS, so if any data has to be shared, and it is supposed to be accessed via to several of the users, multiple users from the common area. So that is known as the EFS.
What is the difference between them?
EFS is the basically if you want to share the data, and EBS is the root volume which is attached to the EC2 instance. For OS installation, we use EBS.
Can we attach an EBS volume to multiple instances at the same time?
I have not done that, but I think no.
Are you sure?
Not sure, but if we can detach the one volume from EC2 instance and then attach to another EC2 instance.
Can we change the private IP on an EC2 instance? How we can change that?
So in Windows Server, go to run an ncpa.cpl, and there we can assign a particular static IP. Actually, I have not done that, but in a logical form, and so in Windows Server I can explain. And
what is the public and private subnet?
Public subnets are the internet facing subnets, and the private subnets are the subnet which are hidden from the public subnets, and those can be accessed via either through NAT instances or NAT gateways.
What is the VPC endpoint?
So VPC endpoint is the if you want to access any other resource within our infrastructure privately. So that is known as the VPC endpoint, and it is the substitute for the NAT gateway because it incurs a lot of charges. So one way is to use the VPC endpoints.
And how we can monitor our VPC?
Monitor our VPC. I think we can use CloudWatch or monitoring.
Can we add multiple CIDR to an VPC?
Please pardon?
Can we add multiple CIDR to an VPC?
Yes.
What are the limit?
Up to 27/27.
No, like how many CIDR can we attach to a single VPC? Suppose you have a VPC and you have a CIDR 10.0008.
Uh-huh.
So can you add additional CIDR also to the VPC?
Yes, we can add, but
what is the limit for adding that?
CIDR limit I have not gone through, sorry.
Okay, what is the difference between security group and NACL?
NACLs are one are the stateful and one are the stateless. So NACL provides double security. It is attached to the subnet. So all the EC2 instances which are attached to the subnet have the security, and the security groups are attached to only EC2 instances. So those are particular to EC2 instances only. So one is stateful and one is stateless. So in stateful, if inbound traffic it is allowed, outbound is automatically allowed. Outbound traffic is always free to go. And if I talk about NACL, so those are stateless. So if inbound we have specified, so outside traffic has also to be specified whether it can go outside or not. So these are NACLs are deployed on the multiple of 100.
What are the limit to make an entry in single NACL?
I think 50. I think I'm not sure, but I think 50 is there. Exactly.
Okay, what is the lifecycle policy in S3?
So lifecycle policy is S3. Basically, the data will be moved to the particular storages according to the costing. So if we don't want to access any data frequently, so S3 will move that data automatically to the storage, which incurs less charges to save the costs.
So what is the hosted zone in Route 53?
So hosted zone are the zones for which we have created a hosted zone. Created the domains in Route 53.
So how we can attach the hosted zone to a different account VPC?
Please pardon?
So we have a hosted zone in account A and we have VPC in account B. I want to attach that hosted zone to that VPC. How I can do that?
I think we can use a role through IAM because for the cross account access we use roles.
But where we apply the roles? There's no option in the hosted zone, right? To have a role.
So VPC is in other account and the Route 53 is in other account.
Yeah, right.
This I have not come across this scenario.
Okay, how we can deploy the Lambda function in the automation way?
So for that we shall have the script with us, and we will go to the Lambda and attach that. Basically, we had a data loss when I was working in KMG. So the important data was kept in S3, and we had connected it through the DynamoDB to Lambda, and then we had a Python script. So whenever any data was pushed through to the S3, so event was triggered, and we used to get the logs in the DynamoDB using Lambda. So basically, it's a serverless computing, and we should have a particular script for that thing. So the languages which are supported by Lambda are PowerShell, C++, Java, Go, Node.js, etc.
Okay, from how many locations we can update the new code in the Lambda function?
How many locations?
Yeah, like the option to update the code in Lambda function. So on how many locations, like how many options do we have to update the code from Lambda function?
No idea, sir.
Okay. What is the difference between DynamoDB and RDS?
So DynamoDB is the basically NoSQL. I mean, it's a non-tabular and non-structured kind of DynamoDB. So Dynamo means which is very flexible and is lesser in size. And other than that, the traditional databases are in, I mean, tabular or structured format. And if we are using a very huge types of databases, so we can go for traditional databases. Otherwise, we can use DynamoDB.
What is the difference between IAM role and IAM user?
So IAM user is a particular user. So let's say there is a group, HR group in a company, and we have to add a particular user who has just joined to the, I mean, to the company. So though that is a user, and IAM role is something if we want to give a cross account access to a particular user, because the root access cannot be given to anybody, or rather administrator access can also be not given. So when I was in Amdocs, so I was given the access to the Azure portal using roles, and application team used to do that. So I did not have access to whole of the Azure portal, only the area which was I was authorized to perform.
Okay. So in Docker, what is the difference between Docker Hub and Docker Registry?
Docker Hub is the repository where all of the images are there, and Docker Registry is something like Docker Registry is of two types. One is public and one is private. So if we have made it public, so I mean anybody can see it, and private registry is something which we can lock using our credentials.
So for a running container, I want to create an image. So what is the command for that?
Docker build, sudo docker build -it. So I is for interactive.
For a running container, I want to create an image. Of a running container, I want to create an image.
I mean, you are asking the reverse process.
Right.
Reverse process, I didn't come across.
What is the difference between CMD and entry point?
In CMD, the command line parameters are replaced, and in the entry point, the command line parameters are appended or added.
And what is the difference in add and copy command in Docker file?
Please pardon.
What is the difference between add and copy command?
Add and copy command. So copy is only from a particular directory, and add we can use if you want to add anything from the internet also. So for that, add key is used.
And what is the use of export and import command?
Export command is used to export the images, and import command is if we can want to import any image from the GitHub.
Okay. Have you used Kubernetes?
Yeah, working knowledge I have, but from the scratch I have not deployed it. In a BSSC project was deployed in Kubernetes.
So what is the benefit of using Kubernetes in terms, like in comparison of Docker Swarm?
Docker Swarm. So Docker Swarm has a very limited, I mean, if we use the Docker Swarm clustering, so it can handle only a few thousands of cluster. But if we use Kubernetes, it is highly scalable. And other than that, Kubernetes provides better flexibility, and the containers are limitless. Plus, we can do the load balancing and auto scaling, etc. And if any pod is going down, so it can auto heal itself. And there is a GUI version which is also present for the Kubernetes, which is absent in the Docker Swarm. So that's why everybody is using Kubernetes.
So I have a Kubernetes cluster, and I have a team who is working on that setup. So I don't want to any teammate to access the master node directly, but I want to provide access to team of the cluster. So how can I do that without logging to the master node?
Oh. So
And what are
if
the components? What are the etcd component in Kubernetes?
etcd is the basic is used to uh, I mean it consists of the configurations of the Kubernetes. It's a configuration file.
What is the path of that
Path
directory? HH directory. What is the path?
path I don't remember. Sorry.
Okay. What is the Jenkins file in Jenkins?
So Jenkins file is a file which it is just like a Docker file which tells the Jenkins what actions to perform, and we can write that in Groovy.
Okay. How we can store the credential in Jenkins securely?
I mean, which kind of credentials?
Any credential.
No idea. Actually, I was the credentials.
What is the Jenkins shared library?
Uh, Shared library. I don't know. There are various types of plugins, but shared library. I mean, from where we can access any Jenkins resources. I am not done this.
You use Terraform, right?
Yeah, Terraform. I used to migrate the resources for the production environment in my.
Okay, so what is private module registry in Terraform?
Please pardon.
What is the private module registry in Terraform?
Private module registry.
Yeah.
So the registry in which cannot be accessed publicly and which consists of the Terraform files known as the private.
So what's Terraform init command do?
Terraform init command is used to initiate the Terraform and download all the plugins, respective plugins which are required to execute the Terraform.
And what Terraform plan command do?
Terraform plan command is basically used to match the desired state from the current state.
What is the difference between git pull and git fetch?
So the git fetch is git pull will basically bring all the changes to our local system where we are pulling, and git fetch will only tell us what are the changes which have occurred in the repository.
What is git stash?
Git stash is something like there you are working on a project A, and all of a sudden your manager asks you to work on the project B. So we will use git stash command. So the git stash command will keep the code temporarily somewhere in our local machine, and then we will go to another project, work there, commit our and save all of our work, and when we will come back, we will use the reverse stash using git stash pop command, and we will get all of our work which we were doing at that time, and then we will continue from there.
What is canary deployment?
Please pardon.
What is canary deployment?
Canary deployment?
Yeah.
Canary deployment? No, I have not heard this term.
What is blue-green deployment?
So blue-green deployments are the deployments. So I mean, if one part of the infrastructure goes down, so another will be up. So basically, it is used for the redundancy purpose. So in BSSC project, blue-green deployment was there, but unfortunately, I was not a part of it. Yeah, blue-green deployments are used for redundancy only.
Okay, Ritik, thanks for your time. I will then on my side.
Ah.
I will share the feedback with HR and she will get back to you.
Okay. So I have one question. Is there any other round or this is the final round?
I am not sure about that. HR will listen from that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.